I am trying to step up my game. I'd gotten a little lazy, I have to admit. But after the interview I had with Roberta Anding, if you haven't listened to that, by the way, hit pause, go listen to that. I know it's an hour long, but I'm telling you, it's worth every minute. After talking with her, I was like, all right, let's go. And we're going to get some breakfast ready for the kids. Today, I am giving you some of my favorite breakfasts, and I'm just going to call them good enough to play breakfasts after what she said, which is if you don't have time for breakfast, you don't have time to be good. So these are good enough to play breakfasts. There are 9 of them. Most of them will take 15 minutes or less. You can make a whole bunch of them and they are ready for the week. So stick around. Hey there, I'm Amy Connell. Welcome to Graced Health. This podcast is for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and age their bodies well. And of course, we always enjoy a little chocolate in the process because it's yummy, because I like it. Maybe you don't enjoy chocolate, but I do. After my interview with Roberta Anding, the sports dietitian, if you haven't listened, make sure you go back. I was fired up. I was so excited. You should have seen me the day that we talked. I just was like, oh my gosh, here we go. One of my kids had gotten in the habit of leaving the house a couple days a week on an empty stomach. And, I decided not to let it bother me because I have been kind of shifting my eating schedule and I have not been having breakfast anymore, which is a whole different story. And you can listen to that over on the Faster Way to Fat Loss bonus episodes. So I just thought, well, maybe he doesn't need it either. Like maybe he doesn't need breakfast, but she disconfirmed that. Is that a word? I'm not even sure. But she basically said, oh, no. You have to have breakfast. I actually had planned on asking her about it and she beat me to the punch. So I knew that she really meant business about it. So after relaying her words to my kids, which is if you're too busy for breakfast, you're too busy to be good, they really got on board with that as well. But then I decided I needed to make sure that they didn't have an excuse to not have breakfast. They're not big cereal eaters. They're kind of like a grab and go kind of guys. They may not go with it, but they like to just grab it and not think about it. And I decided that as a mom, and since they are still under my roof, I'm just going to support them in this way. I am not great about everything. Like I don't go to away basketball games. I just don't. I'm sorry. They're all like 30 or 45 minutes away and they have transportation with their school and I'm there. I root them on from my home. So I'm not like super supportive mom who's there all the time for everything, but I have just decided that it's important to me to set them up to be good in whatever it is that they want to do. And one of those things is in the food department. So they will tell you that I'm a little neurotic about food and what they're eating, and they can talk it out in therapy later, but it really is, it's with the best of intentions. We'll just, I try. And one of those now is breakfast. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to make a whole bunch of breakfast for them. So that way they have things, they don't have an excuse, and they can get some fuel in them quickly with some good nutrients. Like I don't want Pop-Tart fuel in my kids. And it's okay if you are fine with that with your kids, but that's just not something I want for them, for my kids. And so I thought, you know what? I can't expect them. I can't expect them to make scrambled eggs every morning for themselves. Now, your kids may do that. I have a girlfriend who is a track mom friend. Her daughter, right before school started, made an entire week's worth. And this daughter, I think, is in 7th grade. This is so impressive. I can't believe this. So like she scrambled up a whole bunch of eggs. She made a whole bunch of hash browns and then she put something else in there. Maybe sausage. I can't really remember. And then put them into individual containers and then pulled them out and heated them up. I am so impressed with this girl and my children will never do that. They just won't. So I just thought, you know what? If nutrition is important to me, then I need to show that through my actions. All of that to say is I have a lot of recipes for you today. Now, I admit that the thought of batch prepping a whole bunch of food is like at its core, it just sounds exhausting. Like that's the last thing I want to do on a Saturday or a Sunday after I have spent my evenings going to games and driving around to practices. And then I know a lot of you are in tournaments. My children, thank goodness, did not choose sports where there's a multitude of tournaments, but I get it. Like that's the last thing we want to do. So what I tried to do was really pull in some of the easiest prepared recipes that I have. I actually made one of these yesterday. I looked at the clock. It took me 13 minutes start to finish. Like these are easy. They are quick. Yes, you need to throw some stuff in the dishwasher when you're done, but this is not something that is going to earn you a place on the Food Network. It's just going to get it done, and it's going to get good quality food in your kits. Now, I want to warn you that you are going to see some recurring themes in some of these and some recurring ingredients. And I want to talk for just a second a little bit about these because I think it's important to know what they're good for. And so that way it'll encourage you to use it. One of them is oats. Oats, I know, are a grain, and some people stay away from grains, and that's okay. So I'm sorry, there aren't oats in all of these, but a lot of them do have them. And I love oats. I like oatmeal. I kind of go in phases, and I've been out of the oatmeal phase for a while, but I do use a lot of oats. They kind of have that stick to your ribs kind of feeling, like you eat it and then it's just there with you for a while. I use the Bob's Red Mill gluten-free. It's like the extra thick ones. And so it has half a cup, has 7 grams of protein. It has 6 grams of fiber. And keep in mind, as women, we need 25 grams of fiber. Full-grown men need 35 grams of fiber. But if you're talking about 6 grams of fiber, that is almost 25% of what you need for the day. And I should know what your children need, but I don't, but it's a good amount of fiber. That's good stuff. It has 3 milligrams of iron, which is 15% of your recommended daily allowance, your RDA. It can lower your cholesterol levels, and it can protect your LDL cholesterol from damage. So, oats really have some really great benefits to it. Another ingredient I use a lot of is chia seeds. Now, if you're like me, it may be that when you hear chia, you go back to 1987 with the chia, the chia pets. I never had one of those. I am kind of curious if that works or not. Like, can I just create my own chia pet? I don't really know. I don't know how that works. But chia seeds, now that we realize the nutritional value, I guess they're not selling them in pets anymore because I don't see those advertisements, but they are great in omega-3 fatty acids. They are rich in antioxidants. They provide fiber and iron and calcium. They also are a really good source of magnesium, which is something that a lot of our bodies don't get enough of. The omega-3 fatty acids can help raise your HDL cholesterol, which HDL is the good one, and it can protect against heart attack and stroke. It's a lot of really good heart healthy stuff. By the way, I get this stuff from like reputable sources. So I was digging into mayoclinic.com, reading all of this stuff. So this isn't like Amy's personal blog.com that's saying all this. I'm trying to get like real sources. So I hope you just trust me on this kind of stuff. In the Chunky Monkey Chia Pudding, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, it has 20 milligrams of magnesium, which is 20% of what your body needs. That has 2 tablespoons. Anyway, we'll get into all of that, but the chia seeds really are a great source of nutrients for you. The third ingredient that you're going to hear a lot of is flax seeds. You do want to make sure when you buy flax seeds that you're getting the ground and not the whole, because they are more easily digested. If you get the whole, it can just pass through your system undigested. And then like, what's the point in that? Why even bother? And then I recommended one of these recipes to a friend one time, and she said, well, it kind of tasted funny. Well, we dug into it. and realize that she got the roasted flax seeds. Don't get the roasted. That's just going to, that's, I don't, you can use, maybe you can get it for something else or use it for something else, but the roasted, don't get the roasted flax seeds, just get the regular ground ones. And I typically get a really big bag of those. Your flax seeds are good for, again, for lowering that LDL cholesterol, the bad one. It can help with constipation. It can really help with your digestive system, by the way, if you're having issues with that, and has good omega-3s. So 1 tablespoon has 2 grams of protein, 3 grams of fiber, lots of really good staying power in your body. Okay, let's dig in to these recipes really quickly. And what I'm going to do is talk about them on a high level. And then I have a download for you over at gracedhealth.com/breakfast2020. So it's gracedhealth.com/breakfasts2020. And you can get all of these recipes. It's free. I'll send it right to your inbox. And that way it's right there and available for you. I have these separated out into what I call the 3 S's. So the 3 S's of an easy breakfast is something sweet or something savory or a shake. I spend a lot of time on the sweets because I tend to like something sweet in the morning, as do my children. If you're more of a savory kind of person, I'm going to give you a couple things, and I would love for you to tell me what your favorite savory make-ahead dishes are, because this is certainly not all encompassing. Okay, the first thing that I make, and I made these are what I made yesterday in the span of like 13 minutes. They are called no-bake energy balls. These have your flax seeds, they have your chia seeds, they have oats, peanut butter, chocolate chips, maple syrup, and maybe something else that I can't remember. Basically, you just throw all of it together, mix it up, and then you make little balls out of it. Now, I like to use a scooper with one of these. So it's like a muffin scooper or a cookie scooper that you squeeze it and then it comes out. And the trick I have figured out is I get a helper with this. It makes it a lot easier. I engaged the help of my son and I said, "Hey, would you like some no-bake energy balls?" And he said, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, cool. Will you help me with them then?" I mean, how can he say no at that point? I was like, "I promise it'll take 3 minutes." So I got it all mixed together. He got the scooper and then he would scoop them onto my hands. And the way I have found it works best is if my hands are a little wet, because that way the peanut butter and all of that business doesn't stick to my hands. So he'll scoop it onto my hands, I'll roll it up into a ball, and I'll stick it in a Tupperware and repeat. I typically make a double batch of this because they'll eat 2 or 3 at a time, and then I like to have them and I'll have several throughout the week. So I do make a double batch, but that's a really good way to make those ahead of time. The second one is what I call a breakfast cookie. I have been making these for probably 10 years, maybe even longer. I can't really remember. I originally got the recipe from Sarah Snow's website. I went through recently and it's not even on there anymore. Like they've redesigned the website and they took it off. So thankfully I have it in my head of what it is, but she called it energy sustaining breakfast cookie. Now tell me what 5-year-old wants to eat an energy sustaining breakfast cookie. The answer is none of them. Maybe ones that are really impressive, but my kids don't. If I call something a cookie, oh yeah, they're in. So these were named breakfast cookies. And this is oats, peanut butter, cocoa powder, honey, flax seeds, and hot water. Like that's it. That's as simple as it is. You mix it all together. And then again, I use that same scooper. I scoop it out onto cut up wax paper. So I will cut wax paper into like 4x4 squares and then you wrap it up. These don't hold as well all together, so you want to individually wrap them. The third sweet recipe I have is a 3-ingredient cookie. Now, I actually started making these for myself because I was kind of needing something quick, like a quick and easy carb that I could take with me. So like not a mandarin that I had to peel or something like that. This is what it is. Bananas, oats, and then either chocolate chips or craisins. Or if you really want to get fancy, you can do both. You just put all those together and you bake them. So that does take a little bit of time with the baking. It's not long, maybe 12 or 13 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I can't remember how much. But as far as the prep, it's really, really easy. It could not get more simple. Another one is number 4 is chunky monkey pudding. Now, I understand this sounds a little bit weird. This is something that you can make ahead of time and then it is ready for you. You can't like make it and then eat it right then because it needs a little bit of time to absorb and to mix everything. But it's a combination of chia seeds, banana, cocoa powder, any whatever kind of milk you like. I prefer almond milk. I'll use regular milk for my kids, and then some cinnamon. So you just throw all that like in a mason jar, you put the lid on, you shake it up, you let it sit for 30 minutes, maybe overnight. And I'll make this for like 2 or 3 days worth. My kids love this, by the way. I got this recipe from someone I heard on the All About Fitness podcast, and it also is great with magnesium. So if you're having a lot of like muscle twitches, which is what I get when I'm low in magnesium, or muscle cramping, this is a really great one to do. And then the 5th one is, this one takes a little bit longer, but I want to include it because it's kind of an interesting taste, but it's delicious. And again, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I'm a huge Run Fast, Eat Slow. Like I love their stuff. This one's from that same cookbook, Run Fast, Eat Slow by Shalane Flanagan and Elise Kopecky, but it's called Sweet Potato Breakfast Cookies. So this one's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, it just takes, 10 minutes to put together and then 25 or 30 minutes to cook. But it also has oats in there. It has a lot of ginger, almond flour, cinnamon, sweet potatoes, maple syrup, coconut oil, and the flavors just really meld well together. Okay, now I'm going to admit something. I'm a little selfish and I like these to myself. So this is what I do. I put craisins in them instead of chocolate chips. If it has chocolate in it, my kids will eat it. If it doesn't, then they could let it go. But I want these to myself. So I should share with my children. I realize this. Sometimes I get a little selfish. I get selfish with my time and I get selfish with my food. And this is one of them. So make this for yourself if you want it. But these are delicious. These are just such interesting flavors all combined. And it's just fantastic. Okay, let's move on to the savory really quickly. I have 3 things for you in the savory department. Now, one of them is a homemade, I don't even know what to call these. This is what I want to call it, a homemade egg McMuffin, because I don't know how else to say it besides egg McMuffin. If I grew up going to McDonald's for breakfast on special occasions, and we would get the egg McMuffin, and I love them. Now, I took that and I kind of tweaked it a little bit so that it wasn't so ridiculously processed and added a little bit of benefit to you. So this is wheat English muffins. This is something I make for my kids, by the way. Toast up the wheat English muffin. I get a nice little shallow bowl, mix up 1 egg. I spray a little Pam so it doesn't mix. I cook it up for about 50 seconds. Put some Canadian bacon on top, a piece of cheese, whatever the kind they like. One of them likes American, which grosses me out, but the other one will take like Swiss, which I think is better. I don't even know if they are better or not. But anyway, it's just a really easy grab and go. I used to make these on track mornings when we were going to track or to a track meet and we were leaving at like 0 in the morning and none of us were hungry quite yet, but we wanted something warm. This is what I made. You could do something a little more on the simple side. And this is my second one is, again, get that English muffin. You can toast it. You can just microwave it if you want. Put either a sausage patty on it, some even like deli ham. My kids, oh my gosh, one of my kids loves ham, loves it. It's strange how much he likes it, but put that ham on your English muffin and some cheese. Like this is one of those things that Roberta Anding suggested, and just heat it up in a microwave. I like mine toasted when I do eat the English muffins, but you can just microwave it if that's easier. And then the third one, again, this is one that takes a little bit more prep on the front end, but it will last you a while. And that's kind of like an egg casserole. Now, I will tell you, I wouldn't recommend freezing these because freezing like changes the cellular structure of vegetables. It makes them slimy. I don't know how else to say it. I don't like frozen vegetables. But if you make it fresh, that works. Now, what I do is I just kind of take a bunch of vegetables that I have on hand, or I'll make extra. Like last night, we had asparagus for dinner. I intentionally made some extra. I'm going to chop that up and I'm going to put it in an egg casserole. So like this time I'll use some red pepper. I might cut up some kale or some spinach, just kind of something green, mushrooms, and then some kind of salty meat. So my preference is bacon, but maybe you like the ham, maybe you like the sausage, maybe you like Canadian bacon, something like that. But just adding a little bit of salty meat to it. Do you like cheese? If you like cheese, then throw some cheese in there. Some Swiss cheese works well. The Mexican blend works well. I don't even make this with cheese anymore. Honestly, it's like I use 8 eggs, 4 whites, a big chunk of vegetables, and then some meat, and then I bake it. Like I've kind of pared it back, and then I'll season it up. Sometimes I use salt and pepper. Sometimes I'll use like an all-purpose seasoning or something like that. But it's something that you can make at the beginning of the week or the day after you make a bunch of vegetables, and then it's just kind of ready for you for lunch or for breakfast. Again, pop it in the microwave, 30 seconds. They can have it really quickly. Get you in, get you out. And then the third category is shake. Now, you can create your own shakes. There are a million recipes. I'm going to tell you the one that I have gotten my boys to get on board with making. So I figure if my boys will make it, then maybe your kids will too. And this is what I do. I just get a big handful of spinach and throw it in. And it's funny, my husband has decided he needs to have a little bit more vegetables in his diet. And oftentimes he'll take a protein shake for lunch. And I said, well, just throw some spinach in it. So I was tooting around the kitchen doing whatever. And he said, well, how much? And he's kind of like, it was like an 8-year-old amount, right? Like just as little as he could get away with. And he put it in there. And my son he was like, no, Dad, you need a lot more than that. Like get a big handful. And I was like, yes. Good mom moment. You got to take them when you can get them. So get, about a cup worth, but a big handful of spinach, throw it in there. I promise, like you really can't taste it. I do a scoop of chocolate protein powder, which I'll talk about in just a second. Do a cup of milk of your choice, dairy milk. I like almond milk, oat milk, whatever works for you, a banana, and then 1 to 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. For my kids, I will do closer to 2 tablespoons, maybe even more than that, because I just need some staying power for them. For me, I get plenty of fat in my diet. I shoot for about 30% fat, but I have found that nuts and nut butters really up that very quickly. So I don't use too much of it. Now, as far as the protein powder, I know that I really grilled Roberta Anding on that. If you will recall, she recommended that you get the ones that are NSF certified or certified by the other industry. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I know you want to know what it is because you listened to her podcast and then you got the notes. Anyway, so you can check those. If you're wanting to stay in that safe zone, if your child is a collegiate athlete or beyond, obviously do that. I prefer a plant-based protein powder. That just seems to be what my system works really well with and responds well to. I love the brand Healthy Scoop. It's SKOOP. I'll link that down below. It's made all with organic ingredients. It has pea protein and brown rice, and it's a nice mix. I have met the founder. I have talked to him. I have learned about his sourcing processes, and I trust them. So if you're looking for a good plant-based and don't know where to start, give that one a shot. If you know of one that you really like, then by all means, go for that. I mean, just use what works for you and what your body responds well to. But that is the shake that my children will make. And so that's the one I'm going to recommend. And I like using a NutriBullet. I know a lot of you are Vitamix fans. I've heard great things about it. I just have not really wanted to shell out the money to get it. My NutriBullet works just fine. Thank you very much for $50. And I like it because it's kind of it's smaller and it's you can clean it easy. The base, you just rinse it off, and then the cup that you mix it in, you can throw it in the dishwasher. I am all about ease and convenience, and so that is why I like the NutriBullet. When you buy the NutriBullet, they have a million different recipes as well, and you can get those for inspiration. But for now, it's another Chunky Monkey chocolate. I told you there's a lot of chocolate, lots of sweet stuff in here, but that's a really great one. Okay, let's do a quick recap. Think in terms of your make ahead or of your quick breakfasts, the good enough to play breakfasts. I'm very proud of myself for coming up with that. In terms of one of three things: sweet, savory, or shake. And again, remember, I have all of these recipes as a download. So go over to gracedhealth.com/breakfasts2020 to get the recipes for all of these. For the sweet, you can make the no-bake energy balls. I made those beginning to end 13 minutes yesterday. Breakfast cookies, almost equally as fast. 3-ingredient cookies, oatmeal, banana, chocolate chips. That's easy. That's it. Chunky Monkey pudding and sweet potato breakfast cookies. For me, not my kids. For savory, get an English muffin. Make a homemade Egg McMuffin. What do we call these? Homemade egg muffins? I don't even know. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. You can also do an English muffin with any kind of meat in there. Sausage patty, deli ham, Canadian bacon. Add some cheese if you want. Or make an egg casserole for the week and just have it there so you can, go ahead and even cut it up into the squares. They can just pop it out, put it in the microwave. And finally, shake. Play around with your shakes. Find what works for you. As for me and my family, we will make a Chunky Monkey shake. Oh, I'm sure God loves all the times that I totally butcher up his scripture. I'm totally off now. Okay, a shake. Chocolate protein powder, milk of your choice, banana, peanut butter, handful of spinach. Remember, you can add in some dry milk powder if you want a little safe protein boost. What's the one simple thing I want you to remember? It is hard to get the mental energy sometimes, or the physical energy, or the time to make these. But when you do, it really does set you up, and just as important, set your children up for a successful day at school and in all of their activities, no matter what they are. This is not just for the athletes, obviously. It will set them up to be successful. And when our kids are successful, that's just better on us. We feel better too. Don't forget to get your free download of all of these recipes over at gracedhealth.com/breakfasts2020. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure you do that. So that way you will get all of these episodes sent directly to you. If you have not gone and subscribed over at gracedhealth.com/podcast, make sure you do that, because you will get all of the show notes, including any of these downloads I'm talking about when I say go get it. If you have already said, hey, yeah, send me the show notes, I'm sending those to you no matter what, because I want you to get them and I don't want you to have to mess with going and hunting and finding them. Hey, thanks to those of you who have rated and reviewed. I really appreciate that. I know it can get a little confusing. So for a quick tutorial on Apple, go under search, type in Graced Health, and that will bring up the main podcast page. Scroll down, you'll see ratings and reviews. You can tap to rate 1 to 5 stars. I like the 5s, but do whatever's honest to you. And then scroll down a little bit more and hit write a review. I want to give a shout out to Tam Cornell. Thank you so much for the kind feedback you have given. I am so glad that I am meeting you where you are, and I really appreciate the time that it takes to fill out a review. I know sometimes I have a hard time doing that, and so I appreciate anyone's time when they do that. Thank you so much. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a great day.